Saudi Arabia in private recently warned G7 nations that it might sell off some of the European debt holdings if the G7 group decides to seize 300 billion of US dollars in Russian assets frozen by the US and other European countries, as reported by the Bloomberg. It can be described as a veiled threat, the kingdom's finance ministry reportedly implied. It would start selling debt issued by the French treasury if the G7 seized Russian assets that were frozen in the wake of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. However, officials told Bloomberg that although it was not Riyadh's style to make threats like this, it may have outlined to G7 members that consequences of any seizures. Riyadh's reported private intervention came ahead of the group of leading economies' May and June deliberations over what to do with blocked Russian assets of about 300 billion US dollars. Before I proceed, I encourage you to consider liking the video and don't forget to share your views on the topic in the comment section below. Your feedback is invaluable for us and a wider audience around the world. The US and Britain reportedly favored confiscating the funds and allocating them towards Ukraine's reconstruction, while the EU was more reluctant. Other Russia-friendly countries, including China and Indonesia, had also pushed for the EU to refrain from seizing the money, fearing the precedent it would set for other countries. Although Saudi Arabia holds large foreign reserves, including perhaps tens of billions of euros, the G7's major fear was that other countries would follow the kingdom's lead in selling European bonds. Instead of confiscating the money, the EU adopted a plan to use the profits from the frozen Russian assets to fund 50 billion US dollars of military aid for Ukraine in June. You must have heard about this. While enjoying close relations with Moscow, Riyadh has also sought to build ties with Kyiv, welcoming Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on a surprise visit in June. The kingdom also hosted a Ukraine peace summit in August 2023, which Russia was not invited. Still, Saudi Arabia has played an important role in negotiating prisoner exchanges with Russia, allowing Ukraine to achieve a major exchange involving nearly 300 people in September 2022. However, Saudi Arabia has not taken a concrete stance on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, having skipped last month's Global Peace Summit in Switzerland and refusing to sign the Peace Summit's joint communique condemning Russia. The probable move by G7 nations was seen as support to Ukraine in the ongoing war against Russia. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman launched a veiled threat to one of the most powerful groups of nations, G7, showcasing Saudi's growing diplomatic clout on the world stage, underscoring its increasing ability to influence decisions made by some of the world's most powerful economies. The warning by Mohammed bin Salman is being seen as a major balance of power in the Ukraine-Russia war, which has almost led to isolation of Russia by the Western countries. The Saudi Finance Ministry's opposition is said to have played a role in shaping the G7's ultimate decision to tap only the profits generated by the frozen assets rather than seizing them entirely. So what are Saudi Arabia's intentions behind the warning to the G7? The actual intentions behind Saudi Arabia's warning to G7 remain unclear. However, there are many predictable reasons, such as Riyadh's fear that such a seizure might set a dangerous precedent for other countries in the future. Some experts also see this as Saudi Arabia's solidarity with Russia, given the close ties with Riyadh has maintained with Moscow amid the ongoing war in Ukraine, including their joint leadership of the OPEC+. Another speculation is also seen as Riyadh's way of swaying BRICS nations to become a group member. The report noted that as these countries gain economic and diplomatic strength, they can increasingly challenge and shape global policy decisions that were once primarily dictated by Western nations. The Saudi position on Russian assets also reflects a broader trend, where issues like the Ukraine conflict are becoming wedge issues between the West and BRICS nations, similar to how Israel has become a point of contention, with BRICS nations often taking positions at odds with Western stances. The treatment of Russian assets has become another area of divergence. The Saudi threat also serves as a stark reminder of the kingdom's significant financial leverage, with net foreign reserves of 445 billion US dollars and a sovereign wealth fund of about 1 trillion US dollars in assets. Saudi Arabia's financial decisions can have far-reaching implications for global markets and geopolitics. Ultimately, Saudi Arabia succeeded, and the G7 agreed to provide Ukraine with about 50 billion US dollars of fresh aid, only the profits generated from Russian blocked assets. The compromise solution reflects the delicate balancing act that Western powers must now perform as we move towards a more multipolar world, where emerging powers such as Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and other BRICS nations can significantly influence global decision-making processes, even on issues traditionally dominated by Western nations. Sources tell Bloomberg that although Saudi Arabia's selling of European and French bonds would not likely cause massive rifts in the world economy, European officials were concerned other countries would follow Saudi Arabia's lead, and if other nations led by BRICS also follow Saudi Arabia in selling more European bonds, then it can be disastrous for Europe. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had good relations with the United States during the Trump administration. However, relations between the two have significantly changed since US President Joe Biden came to power in 2021. However, Saudi Arabia is still dependent on the United States for security and has huge investment in the US, and relations with the US can improve anytime soon if Donald Trump becomes president again in the coming months. The close ties between Saudi Arabia and Russia were made evident in August 2022 when Riyadh and Moscow jointly led the OPEC Plus bloc of oil giants and significantly cut production levels, which exacerbated an energy crisis in West sparked by heavy sanctions on Russian fuel. Last year, the Gulf Kingdom also made headlines by selling down its holdings of US treasuries to the lowest in over 6 years. This news indicates that the power center is no longer located in Washington only, and the emerging multipolar world is a reality and requirement of today's world. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for new videos on important international topics.